Chosen one, understand this clearly. You are not watching this by coincidence. Your steps were guided here intentionally. God Himself directed you to this moment because your spirit needed confirmation. Somewhere along the way, you may have begun to wonder if your obedience mattered. You may have questioned whether the sacrifices were worth it, whether the tears shed in private were ever noticed, or whether anyone truly understood the cost of choosing God when walking away would have been easier. Let this be the answer your soul has been waiting for. Heaven saw everything. God witnessed every unseen act of obedience. He saw the tears you cried when no one was around to comfort you. He heard the prayers you whispered when your voice was too weak to speak aloud. Every time you chose loyalty over convenience, righteousness over relief, obedience over escape, God recorded it all. This message is not just meant to encourage you. It is a spiritual declaration. It is heaven announcing that God is proud of you. Everything you did in love, in faith, and in secrecy is now positioned for open reward. What you carried silently is about to be acknowledged publicly. What was done in the hidden place is preparing to manifest in the open. As we move into these 7 sections, heaven wants you to understand right now. Pause and recognize the weight of this moment. If this word is resonating with your spirit, make sure you like, share, and subscribe. Not as a routine action, but as a sign that you are staying aligned with what God is revealing. This is not ordinary content. This is divine confirmation meant specifically for chosen ones. And to every soul that has shown support through Super Thanks, know this: your generosity, your presence, and your faithfulness have not gone unnoticed. May God bless you abundantly. You are not just supporting a message, you are participating in a divine unfolding. Heaven sees you as well. If your spirit recognizes this frequency, type 77 in the comments right now. That number is not accidental. It is a sacred signal, a prophetic marker that you are aligned, awakened, and ready to receive the open reward for everything you endured in silence. The prayers, the sacrifices, the obedience, the seasons where you said nothing but trusted God anyway. Not everyone will remain through this entire message. Only those who are truly chosen will stay. And those who do will receive clarity, reassurance, and divine confirmation that God takes pride in them. This word carries prophetic authority. If you have been asking God for a sign that your quiet labor was seen, this is that sign. This is not a message you listen to once and forget. It is a living word. Return to it when your heart grows tired. Play it again when strength feels distant. With every listen, another layer of divine affirmation will rise within you, reminding you again and again, God saw what you did. Heaven kept record, and God is proud of you. Now let us go deeper. Section number 1, God saw you stand when you could have bent. Now that we go deeper, understand this first truth. Chosen one, heaven remembers the moments the world ignored. This chapter begins with the quiet victories, the decisions you made when no one applauded, but angels celebrated. There were crossroads where compromise would have made life easier, faster, and less painful. Moments when bending just a little seemed harmless. But something within you resisted. That inner restraint was not fear. It was the Holy Spirit guiding you, protecting you, anchoring you in truth. You had every opportunity to choose convenience instead of your calling. You could have blended in, softened your convictions, diluted your values, or taken the popular path that promised quick results. Yet you refused. Even when standing firm isolated you, even when obedience came with loss. God witnessed every single moment. Not one act of faithfulness escaped His attention. Not one sacrifice failed to be recorded in heaven's books. There were offers placed before you, shortcuts that looked attractive, doors that appeared blessed on the surface but demanded betrayal at the soul level. You felt the pressure to agree, to conform, to say yes just to survive or belong. But instead, you protected your spirit. You guarded your motives. You stayed rooted in who God declared you to be, not who people tried to mold you into. That path was not easy. There were nights filled with doubt, seasons where you questioned whether doing the right thing was worth the cost. You watched others advance, prosper, and celebrate while you felt stuck, hidden, or wandering through wilderness terrain. But don't misunderstand what you witnessed. Many gain success at the price of their identity. You chose differently. You chose the eternal road, the slower way that builds depth, substance, and lasting impact. And heaven noticed. Angels observed every time you denied your flesh. God marked each decision where you walked away from what looked good because you discerned it wasn't Him. That level of restraint requires uncommon strength. In a world that rewards compromise and celebrates performance, you chose something higher. You chose character over comfort. You chose obedience over applause. You chose purpose over popularity. And now God is preparing a reward that matches the quiet power you carried. What is coming is not random favor, it is intentional response. These blessings are not merely compensation, they are confirmation. Proof that you were never foolish for standing alone. Evidence that your moral courage was never in vain. You did not bend to the pressure of the world, and now heaven itself is leaning toward you. Chosen one, you were never ignored. You were being carefully observed. You were never forgotten. You were being intentionally formed. Every time you said no to what was wrong, you created room for what is right. Every choice of integrity laid another brick in a legacy heaven is ready to breathe on. Prepare yourself. What is approaching your life is not accidental. It is reward, yes, for what you did, but also for what you refused to do. And when it finally arrives, clarity will follow. You will understand why the process took time. You did not fold under pressure. Now God is about to unfold the fullness of His favor over your life. Section number 2, God saw the tears. No one else did. As this unfolds, chosen one, understand this next layer of truth. The deepest pain you carried was never invisible to heaven. Some of the hardest moments of your life happened far from human eyes. You bore heavy burdens quietly. You cried where no one could hear you. You smiled in public spaces while your heart was quietly breaking within. You loved others sincerely while feeling completely unseen yourself. And yet, you kept moving forward. You continued to show up even when shutting down would have been understandable. You kept giving when your own soul felt empty. You extended compassion while longing for someone to hold you. You interceded for the healing of others while quietly bleeding inside. And through it all, you did not stop. You did not fall apart. You did not abandon God or allow bitterness to consume you. Heaven noticed every moment. God saw every tear. Not one escaped His attention. The same God who knows the number of hairs on your head has accounted for every tear that touched your face, every sleepless night, every whispered prayer where you said, "Lord, I don't know how much more I can endure." Every attempt to stay strong when everything inside you was unraveling. All of it was recorded, remembered, and received as something sacred. Your pain was never meaningless. It became fertile ground where God planted deep roots, faith that cannot be shaken, patience that cannot be rushed, compassion that cannot be taught, and wisdom that can only be earned through suffering. What looked like breaking was actually divine shaping. God used the fractured places to form something beautiful within you. Even when no one else recognized the change happening inside, God was transforming you, strengthening your spirit, sharpening your discernment, and increasing your spiritual authority. There were times you were surrounded by people yet felt utterly alone. You fought private battles while others admired your strength. They did not realize you were leading, encouraging, and uplifting them while barely holding yourself together. You were weary, yet faithful, afraid, yet obedient, wounded, yet still hopeful. That kind of endurance does not come from human willpower. It flows from the Spirit of God living within you. Hear this clearly. The tears you cried did not disappear. They became seeds, planted in the soil of suffering. And those seeds are now ready to bloom into joy, breakthrough, and blessing. God is turning every tear into a testimony. Every season of sorrow is being transformed into a season of sweetness. Heaven is releasing restoration, not only emotionally but spiritually, mentally, and materially. The weight you carried in silence is being lifted. The years you spent merely surviving are shifting into seasons of abundance. This is not only because you prayed, but because you endured, because you trusted God when understanding failed, because you praised Him while walking through the fire. Honor is being released over your name. Peace is returning to your heart. Joy is being restored to your soul. This is more than a reward, it is a divine response. God is declaring, I saw everything, and now I am answering. So let this settle into your spirit as confirmation. You were never ignored. You were never forgotten. In fact, your hidden tears positioned you as heaven's priority. What was done in secret is now being prepared for open reward. The same God who carried you through the valley is now guiding you into victory. You cried, but you did not quit. You wept, yet you continued to worship. You were broken, but you remained in God's hands. And now He is about to build something powerful with your story, something that will bless not only your life, but generations to come. God saw the tears no one else did. Heaven is moving on your behalf. Section number 3, God saw your silence when you could have fought back. As heaven continues to move on your behalf, chosen one, understand this truth as well. God witnessed the moments you stayed silent when defending yourself would have been easy. There were seasons when conversations about you happened in places you never entered. Your name was spoken without your presence. Your intentions were misrepresented. Your growth was mocked. Your kindness was misjudged as weakness, and your restraint became a source of ridicule for others. They shared only their version of the story and left you carrying blame that was never yours. You had the truth. You had proof. You had everything needed to clear your name. Yet instead of responding, you withdrew. Instead of reacting, you released it. That decision was not weakness, it was holiness. You did not remain silent because you lacked a voice. You chose silence because you understood the value of your voice. You refused to spend it convincing people who had already decided to misunderstand you. That level of restraint is not human, it is spiritual. You handed over your reputation to God. You trusted Him with the case, the judgment, and the outcome. And the moment you did, heaven stepped in. God saw the nights your name was being dragged while you were on your knees asking Him to guard your heart from bitterness. He saw the tears caused by betrayal. He saw you restrain your tongue when lies tried to fracture your character. You did not retaliate. You did not broadcast your pain. You did not start battles you could have won with words. You chose to let God fight for you. Chosen one, that kind of restraint shakes the spiritual realm. The enemy wanted a reaction. He wanted anger, exposure, retaliation, anything that would pull you out of position and cause you to forfeit favor. But you remained still. And while you were still, God was working, quietly shifting hearts, rearranging outcomes, and moving in ways you could not yet see. People interpreted your silence as defeat. God recognized it as wisdom. They assumed you were retreating, but heaven knew you were being repositioned. Even now, rewards are being released because of how you handled what was done to you. You could have lowered yourself, but you rose higher. You could have fought with words, but you chose worship. And heaven never forgets that kind of maturity. That level of self-control qualifies you for promotion. God is not preparing a simple apology. He is preparing for restoration. He is arranging elevation. And when it happens, it will not come with revenge. It will come with peace. It will carry joy. It will be marked by undeniable favor that even those who opposed you will have to recognize. This was never just about proving you were right. It was about choosing righteousness. You value the condition of your spirit more than the protection of your image. You trusted God to handle what you could have tried to fix yourself. And because of that, He is about to speak so clearly in your life that every lie ever spoken will be silenced by the sound of your victory. Your silence was not empty. It was sacred. It echoed through heaven like a trumpet. And the time is coming when the same voices that spoke falsely will witness God bless you openly. Not as retaliation, but as redemption. You stayed quiet. Now God is speaking. You stayed pure. Now God is promoting. You stayed faithful. Now God is fulfilling. Chosen one, your silence was never a weakness. It was worship, and heaven saw everything. Section number 4. God saw how you loved, even when love wasn't returned. As God continues revealing what heaven has witnessed, chosen one, understand this next truth. He saw how you loved when loving cost you deeply. There is a kind of love that does not originate from human strength. It comes from heaven itself. A love that continues even when it is ignored, rejected, or taken for granted. That was the love flowing through you. You gave your heart to people who never acknowledged it. You showed grace to those who met you with silence. You remained loyal to people who disappeared the moment you needed them most. And still, you loved. You loved through disappointment. You loved through slow growth and unmet expectations. You loved without applause or validation, not because it felt good, but because the Spirit of God lived within you. That kind of love was not weakness. It was warfare. Every time you chose love when resentment would have been justified, you were fighting a spiritual battle. You proved to the enemy that your heart could not be contaminated, that no matter how deeply you were hurt, your character would not mirror your pain. God saw how you stayed soft in a world that expected you to harden. He noticed how you gave freely, without conditions, how you checked on people who never checked on you, how you stayed present for others who continually pushed you to the margins of their lives. He saw the tears you shed after loving people who were emotionally distant, unavailable, or dismissive. He saw the moments you questioned yourself. Why do I keep giving so much and receiving so little? And heaven's answer is this: because you were reflecting God. Chosen one, the love you released was never wasted. It was witnessed. Heaven recorded every act of kindness, every encouraging word, every time you sat with someone in their pain while your own heart was quietly breaking. You thought it went unseen. You wondered if it even mattered. But God saw it, and it mattered far more than you realized. You did not stop loving because others failed to love you well. You did not allow cruelty to turn you cold. You refused to let broken people make you bitter. And that makes you rare in a world overflowing with guarded hearts and unresolved pain. It means your heart is still fertile ground for miracles. Now hear this clearly. The love you gave in faith is returning to you, not necessarily through the same people, but through heaven's replacements. God is surrounding you with love built on respect, loyalty, honor, and truth. Love that replenishes instead of drains. Love that protects you the way you once protected others. Do not be surprised when new people begin to enter your life. People who truly see you, value you deeply, and love you without conditions. This is heaven's restoration for what your heart poured out freely. Your cup will not just be refilled, it will overflow into divine relationships, aligned connections, and soul-anchored community. When God rewards love, He does not return it in equal measure. He returns it in abundance. You loved without recognition. You forgave without closure. You gave without expectation. And now, chosen one, you are about to receive in a way that reflects the very heart of God Himself. The world failed to return your love, but heaven never fails. This time, it will be pure, intentional, faithful, true. God saw how you loved. Heaven kept record, and God is proud of you. Section number 5, God saw you give when you had almost nothing. Because heaven never fails, chosen one, God now brings this truth to light. He saw your sacrifice when giving cost you deeply. This is not about easy generosity or comfortable offerings. This is about the moments you gave when you barely had enough for yourself, when you shared while quietly struggling, when you poured into others while praying, hoping that someone, somewhere, would pour back into you. Yet even when no one did, you kept going. Your cup was running low, but you still chose to be a vessel. That was not foolishness. That was faith. That was obedience. That was love made visible. You planted seeds quietly. You didn't give from excess. You gave from surrender. And your offering was far more than financial. It was spiritual. You sowed time into people who exhausted you. You sowed prayers into lives that never prayed for you. You spent your last strength building, encouraging, and serving. Often unseen, uncelebrated, and unthanked. But heaven saw it. God witnessed every moment you chose generosity instead of self-protection. You did not withhold out of fear, you gave in trust. You were not motivated by recognition, you were anchored in obedience. You were not giving from comfort, you were giving from covenant. You remembered the truth of God's word. Those who sow sparingly reap sparingly, and those who sow generously reap generously. And you believed it, even when obedience hurt. Now hear this clearly, chosen one. It is returning to you, not in fragments, not in trickles, but in abundance. The seed you planted in pain has positioned you for a harvest in peace. The ground may have looked dry when you sowed, but it was spiritually fertile. You were not sowing merely into people. You were sowing into purpose. Your obedience released movement in realms you could not see. Your sacrifice set blessings in motion for your future, your family, and your legacy. You did not wait for overflow before giving, and that is exactly why heaven is trusting you with overflow now. You gave while hurting, now God is giving back in healing. You sowed while bleeding, now you will reap in wholeness. God has observed every quiet transaction, every unasked for gift, every prayer, every act of service, every moment you showed up for others when you were the one in need. That kind of heart is rare. That kind of generosity moves heaven. That kind of faith unlocks divine multiplication. Do not believe for a moment that it was wasted. Not one seed went unseen. Not one act of obedience will return empty. What you planted in secret is preparing to bloom openly. The harvest God is releasing will not merely meet your needs, it will exceed them. What is coming is not just provision, it is proof. Proof that God honors sacrifice. Proof that He rewards faithfulness. Proof that He sees what you do for others when you think no one sees you. Chosen one, prepare yourself. You passed the test of generosity in the drought. Now you are stepping into a season of divine downpour. Not because you earned it, but because you endured it. And heaven is about to respond in a way only heaven can. Section number 6, God saw you heal without closure. As heaven responds in its own perfect way, the chosen one, God now reveals another sacred victory you walk through, one that required more strength than most will ever comprehend. Not because it was dramatic or visible, but because it was silent. You were asked to heal without answers, to grieve what was never resolved, to release people who never took responsibility for the wounds they caused. You had to learn how to breathe again in spaces that once suffocated you with unanswered questions. Why did this happen? Did I deserve it? Will they ever tell the truth? And yet in the middle of that uncertainty, you chose healing, not because it felt fair, not because it made sense, but because you refused to let brokenness become your identity. You would not allow someone else's silence to rob you of your peace or sanity. You never received the closure you deserved, the apology, the accountability, the explanation, the recognition. But instead, God gave you something far greater, peace. You made a powerful decision to stop replaying what happened and start rebuilding what remained. You stopped chasing explanations and began pursuing wholeness. That choice did not erase the pain overnight. It did not mean forgetting what hurt you. It meant deciding that your freedom mattered more than their acknowledgement. And that decision came from a holy place. It was born from the Spirit of God working within you. Heaven saw every internal battle you fought while still showing up with a composed face. Every message you typed out and erased. Every moment you stayed quiet. Not because you lacked words, but because you no longer wanted to fight for validation. God saw the nights you cried on the floor whispering, "Lord, help me release this." Even when your flesh wanted to hold on, He saw you choose His way, the narrow path of grace, forgiveness, and surrender. You did not wait for an apology. You did not wait for them to make things right. You allowed God to make you right. That is divine maturity. That is kingdom strength. You took the wounds, the betrayal, the unanswered conversations, the sudden disappearances, and you laid them at God's feet, and He began healing you from the inside out. Now look at you. You are lighter, clearer, no longer chained to what they did or failed to do. You are defined by what God produced from your broken places. He transformed your pain into wisdom, your wounds into purpose, your story into healing that others will one day need. Here is the divine truth. Healing without closure is one of heaven's highest honors. It means you trusted God to close chapters people refuse to close. It means you believed your future was worth more than your pain. And that makes you powerful, because nothing can restrain someone who has been healed by God's hand rather than human hands. Chosen one, you are no longer walking wounded. You are walking free. You are not waiting for justice. You are carrying joy. You are not imprisoned by the past. You are stepping boldly into the promise. And do not be surprised if those who never gave you closure begin to witness your elevation. Not as revenge, but as evidence. Evidence that God's healing surpasses human validation. Evidence that you can move forward without bitterness. Evidence that freedom does not come from people fixing what they broke. It comes from God filling what was empty. Chapter 7. God is about to reward you openly. Now that God has filled what people left empty, chosen one, understand this final truth. There is a divine moment when heaven reveals what was cultivated in secrecy. That moment has arrived for you. Every prayer you whispered when no one heard your voice. Every act of kindness you released without expecting anything back. Every time you helped others while your own heart was aching. Every decision to choose obedience over applause, humility over recognition, holiness over compromise. None of it was ignored. Heaven recorded it all, and now heaven is responding. God has watched you work faithfully in hidden places. You showed up when no one noticed. You served without acknowledgement. You gave without praise. You planted seeds quietly, trusting God to remember what people overlooked. And now those silent seasons are finding their voice. The harvest is not accidental. It is the outcome of a life surrendered behind closed doors. A heart yielded when no spotlight followed. A soul that honored God when no one else was watching. There were times you wondered if you had been forgotten. Moments when being overlooked felt personal. But the truth is this: you were never abandoned. You were being preserved. You were not rejected. You were being refined. What God is releasing now required the weight of character that could only be formed in silence. And what is coming cannot be delayed, denied, or stopped. Chosen one, the season is shifting, not slowly, but suddenly. Doors that once resisted you are opening without effort. Opportunities once unavailable are appearing unexpectedly. Those who dismissed you will witness what God is doing. But this is not about proving anything to them. This is about God revealing His faithfulness through your life. He is demonstrating what happens when someone chooses obedience over shortcuts, purity over popularity, and sacrifice over self-promotion. There is a table prepared for you, and your name is already on it. It was reserved through righteousness, protected by heaven, paid for in full, not with money but with your surrender, your tears, and your unwavering yes. And when you finally take your seat, you will understand this was never just a reward. It was confirmation, a divine announcement that nothing you endured was wasted. Nothing you released was lost. Nothing you waited through was pointless. This table is not about ego, it is evidence. Evidence that God still honors those who honor Him. Evidence that obedience still produces overflow. Evidence that hidden faithfulness never goes unnoticed. So do not shrink back. Do not apologize for what God is about to do in your life. Do not second-guess the blessings moving toward you. This is not luck. This is not coincidence. This is covenant. God is fulfilling His word over your life in full view of those who believed your story had ended. He is not blessing you for display. He is blessing you for destiny, to fulfill the promise, to complete the purpose, to manifest the prophetic words spoken over you long ago. Heaven is applauding right now, not because you were flawless, but because you were faithful. You stayed, you served, you stood, you survived. And now it is time to be revealed. Prepare yourself. Favor is about to locate you. Honor is about to pursue you. Answers are about to align without effort. Blessings are about to flow without striving. God saw what you did, heaven kept record, and God is proud of you.